Lesson 17. Okay, we're going to be talking about adjectives. Adjectives. Okay, we're on page 70 or 62. Okay, because adjectives modify different substantives. Okay, and substantive is a noun. Okay, just a way of saying, just remember that. Which may have any case, number, or gender, they must be able to be found in any case, number, or gender also. The adjective, this is key, must agree in case, number, and gender with the noun it modifies. Hence, the dictionary form reflects this fact by including the endings for the feminine and neuter as well as the full form of the masculine. Okay? All right, so when you look at the chart there, we have all three genders. Okay, we've got agathos, agathe, and agathon. Your endings are exactly what you would expect them to be. Okay, and if you can go back to all three of your charts, to your first, second, and third declension charts, and you'll see that each of these correspond with their nouns. That's the way they're supposed to work. So that way, when you have an adjective with a noun, they're always going to agree in case, number, and gender. Okay? In this case, the agathos is good, right? That's an adjective. Good is an adjective. Okay, so it will be noted that the endings of this word are like the endings for each of the three articles, gender for gender, with one exception.
Underneath the
I'm
chart.
underneath the chart.
Okay,
In paragraph 100, bottom of 62.
thank you, I found it.
Hence, to recognize the case, number, and gender of adjectives like agathos, the general rule is that the student need only remember the endings for each of the three articles. The exception is that the endings of the masculine and neuter nominative singulars are like the noun endings of the masculine and neuter nominative singulars of the second declension. Okay, so I put a little note there underneath so that you see os and on. You see that os and on.
Mm-hmm.
Right underneath, you've got ha, which is the article, and then to, or ta, which is the article that corresponds with own. Okay, why do I mean? What does that mean? It just means that unlike the genitive and dative, your accusative and your accusative and your nominative, the articles don't match the endings, but in other things they do. Okay. 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 In the feminine, note in the feminine, certain adjectives whose stems end in epsilon, iota, or rho will use the alpha in the singular instead of the eta, and would thus follow the rule for the endings of aletheia. Okay, we've already talked about that. Right? You get that? So your adjectives are going to follow that same rule that the variations, that the first declension variations follow. All right. All right. So let's look at hagios. Okay, hagios. This is where you're going to see your differences. Okay, so you've got under nominative singular, you've got hagios, and then you got hagia. Okay, you would expect to have an eta there, right? But because the stem ends with an iota before the alpha, then that means that you're going to have an alpha rather than an eta. Okay, and that follows from there. And again, you've got the same the same rule as what you have on page 59 with aletheia. Hence, it will be noted that learning the forms of the adjective involves no new data, but simply a reuse of information already learned. Okay? So that's a blessing, right? All right. Masculine nouns of the first declension. Okay, this is where it gets a little tricky, but if you just look at it, it's not that hard. The dictionary form of some first declension nouns ends in os or ace. These are masculine in gender, even though the endings, except for the genitive and ablative singular, are from the first declension. Okay? So take a look at your next page and you'll see some examples. Okay, notice in the nominative singular, okay, you got messiahs, okay, which is our word Messiah or Christ, or the Christ, okay? Well, that's technically not correct, but don't worry about it. Okay, so messiahs. Okay, now when you look at that, you would say, okay, I've got an alpha sigma, which tells me feminine, right? But the way that would appear in the New Testament is you would have a masculine article in front of it. That's why I've got that little masculine article. See it written there? The ha. See that? That would carry over. And so, and all of the rest of the cases would also have an article that comes before it that would show that while the noun itself is feminine, it has a masculine article, which means that it is a masculine. So the article will govern what that gender is. That make sense?
If the gender of the person they were referring to was female, they wouldn't bother to change that article, correct? Like, did they change the article to make it a masculine article because Christ is male?
No. These are actually, as it says, masculine nouns of the first declension. Okay, so there's no version of messiahs that is feminine.
Okay.
Okay, these are masculine nouns in the first declension. And the way that I'm going to know that it's a masculine noun is because the article that it carries is going to be masculine. Okay?
Just like voice is feminine, it would be used if we were talking about your voice.
Right.
Or my voice.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It's still a feminine noun.
Right, it's a feminine noun, but it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with male or
So
female.
Messiah's voice would be a
Right.
masculine noun and a feminine noun, followed by a,
But the masculine noun looks like a feminine.
yeah,
Except for the article
Right,
being
except for
masculine.
the article.
and twice on Tuesday.
Okay. All right, and then on 102 we have another IME verb. We have another IME verb, and that is the future indicative. Okay, the future indicative. These you just have to learn them. You know, you just have to learn each of them just the way they are. Okay, the esomai, esse, and then este, and then esometha, eseste, and then esonon or esontai. You have those are all going to be future. So in other words, now notice also too the endings are the middle passive endings. Okay, middle passive endings. That's what we use there. And those I shall be, you shall be, he shall be, on and on.
So they are indeed middle and passive voice? Is that what it's
No,
saying?
the IME stuff doesn't have a voice.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. On page 69, let's jump to lesson 18. I want you to see on 69. You also have another IME chart there, and that's the imperfect indicative of IME. See it there?
I'm getting there.
Oh, boy.
So in your study, you're going to have two different IME charts. You're going to have the future IME on page 64, and you're going to have the imperfect IME on page 69. Okay, let's talk about adjectives. Okay, adjectives. Adjectives may be used in three ways in Greek. Okay, attributively, where the adjective attributes a quality to the noun. They can be used predicatively, where the adjective asserts something about the noun. And then substantively, where the adjective itself is used as a noun. Okay? Look over on page 68, you should have, does everybody have a little page 116 in
Yeah.
there? That right there? Okay, that's the one you want to use, because that gets a little bit more detail from what you have on page 68. It doesn't disagree, it just has a little bit more detail to it. Okay? And what you'll see is that if you look over on page 116, you'll see under 1A, first attributive position. You see that? That corresponds with, on page 68, where it says ha, agathos, doulos. You see it there? That's the first attributive position. Then the ha, doulos, ha, agathos, that's the second attributive position.
Huh?
Look over on page 16, on 116, you've got 1A and 1B.
Yeah.
Okay? That, though, the A corresponds on page 68 with the first sentence, and then 1B corresponds with the second sentence under the attributive position of the adjective. Let me pick this up so you can see it. Like this. Okay, so in other words, this one's 1A right here
Uh-huh.
corresponds with that. Okay, and then 1B corresponds with that.
So 1A equals 106. And 1B equals,
The pink and the green.
See?
They both equal 106.
oh
Right.
boy. Okay.
It's the explanation of the two sentences. Does that mean there is not a third attributive position on this page here?
Yeah, and the reason why, as you'll see here, it says rare. It's just not something you're going to find a lot. But it's there because it does exist, but it's very rare. But what you will see is the first or second attributive position. Okay? And as you'll notice there, under the first attributive position, on page 116, it says ha agathos, and then it's got basileus, which is king, which is the word for king, the good king. Okay, and that's just what it means, the good king. Okay, notice you have the article adjective, but your noun has no article. So then how would you translate that? The good king. Now in the second attributive position, which means that the noun has the article and the adjective has the article. Okay, how would you?
Okay.
Huh?
A light just went on, I'm sorry.
So then what you have there is, so if I'm going to use page 68, for instance, ha, doulos, ha, agathos, I could say the servant, the good one. Okay? The first one I would say the good servant. So the good servant, I'm making a statement of quality, right? Quality. And then the next one, I'm still making a subject of quality, but I'm translating it differently. So I could say the good servant or the servant, the good one. In both cases, that's a statement of quality, the quality of the servant.
Is the second one more emphatic?
Yeah, it would be
You're
more emphatic.
emphasizing the good.
Yeah.
He's really good.
Well, you could also say it like you could make it. You could differentiate too. You could say, the good servant, or you could say, that maybe there's multiple servants. You could say the servant, the good one, as opposed to the bad one. So you could say it that way too. But your main idea there is you're asserting quality, you're making a qualitative statement about the servant.
But it's saying that both of them are receiving emphasis, right?
Right. Okay, if you look over on page 116, you'll see he actually brings out, like, on the second attributive position, thus to bring out the force of such a construction, one might translate the king, the good one. Okay? As opposed to just saying the good king. And you'll see those kinds of constructions quite often. You know, that comes up over and over and over again. Okay, the predicative position of the adjective asserts something. So the adjective then asserts something about the noun. Okay, it asserts something about the noun. In this case, you've got agathos, ha, doulos. Now notice here the difference. In the attributive position, you will always have the adjective will always have the article. Okay, it will always have the article. So in other words, it will be between the article and the noun. Whereas in the predicate position, the adjective is on the outside. You see it there? So the adjective doesn't have an article. You see the difference between the attributive on 106 and the predicative on 107? Okay, so just keep that in mind. If my adjective has the article, then it's attributive. If it doesn't have the article, then it's predicative. Okay, so if I was going to, for example, when I want to use the predicate positions, the first predicate position, I would say, good is the king. Or over here on page 68, I would say, good is the servant. Okay? If I want to, on the second one, on page 68, I would say, the servant is good. Okay? Okay, the only other thing I want you to see, and just look, 116, just get 116 kind of screwed into your brain and you'll be fine. Okay? Substantive use of an adjective, that means that you have an adjective with a, this is the usage of the adjective, is used without a noun and according to the gender is translated as though it were a noun. Okay, notice ha, agathos would be translated the good man or the good person. It could also be the good one. Okay, you could also say the good one because it is masculine. While he, agathe would be the good woman. Okay, and ha, agathon would be the good thing. Okay, so in that case, you don't have a noun. You've got an adjective, but you've got this like in this case, like if you just had ha agathos. Okay, so ha agathos. If you had that, then and that's all you had no noun. Okay, then that means that becomes your noun. Those are the three uses of an adjective. Okay, any questions on that?
So are you going to recognize it? I mean, you won't think, oh, it's an adjective that's being used as a noun. You just see it as a noun? Or do you know?
No, it would be an adjective. You'll see that it is an adjective because it'll be good or holy or something like that. Those are adjectives. Those aren't nouns.
Okay.